Today, all we need to do is click on cookies. One click equals one cookie so far. And that's pretty good because that's about the extent of my abilities. We're just going to keep clicking until we unlock something new, and already we have it. For $15, we can unlock a cursor that auto clicks once every 10 seconds. So now we don't even have to do any clicking ourselves, and we can buy a few of these. So after buying just 3 of those, per second we're making 0.3 cookies. But that's definitely not good enough for me. I want this to be making at least 1 cookie per second for now, which is going to take a few more upgrades. And yes, I still have my auto clicker, but we don't want to get too carried away with that too fast because we already unlocked grandma and we don't want grandma yet. But my level 10 upgrade only costs $53, so just like that, we're now making 1 cookie per second and we don't have to do a thing. So if we want to be patient, we could wait another 85 seconds to unlock grandma, but I'm going to go ahead and click right to her because she's a nice grandma that likes to bake more cookies. So if we click on her, that actually doubles our cookies per second. We're now at 2 per second. So she's definitely the more worthwhile of the upgrades right now. She's more expensive, but she does way more than an individual cursor. If we buy another grandma, we're up to 3 per second. Plus we could buy an upgrade for our clicker, reinforced index finger. The mouse and cursors are twice as efficient. That should be 2 cookies per click. Yes, 2 per click. So that means we're racking up the cookies very quickly. We've got 250 for the first time, which means I can buy 1. Let's call it 2 more grandmas just for efficient clicking. So we're already up to 6 per second. The next clicker upgrade is going to be 500, then 1,000, then 10,000. It won't take me long to hit 500, and then that upgrade is going to get us closer to the next one, which will get us closer to the next one. We just passed 600 and we're still going strong, so we're going to buy this. Now we're at 4 cookies per click. And that rocketed us forward, so now we're at 1,100 cookies, which means we can buy the rolling pin. The next upgrade is 10,000 and we unlocked a new one after that for 50,000, but we'll take the 10,000 one for now. And I know this isn't the way the game is supposed to be played, but I don't care. I want the really big numbers and we're gonna get the really big numbers. So already there's 10,000, which means we get to buy the better clicker, so my mouse clicks are twice as efficient now. That means every click gets us 8 cookies, so that can buy a few more grandmas. And for $1,100 we can buy our first farm, grows cookie plants from cookie seeds. Don't really know what that means, but we're up to 26 cookies per second. And that means we can already buy our next farm, and that puts us up to 34 cookies per second. So every farm gets us 8 per second. And that's going to be a pretty big boost ahead, but there's 3,700 cookies we're going to spend mostly on grandmas. So we're up to 14 grandmas now, and if we spend $5,000, we can make them twice as efficient. And that's what we're going to do, because obviously grandmas were put on this earth to work and make me lots of money. We're up to 80 cookies per second. And another 10,000 cookies later, let's see how many farms we can buy for that. We're up to 7 in total, 120 cookies per second. Plus, we're going to make our farms twice as efficient in just a minute. That was quick, so we're going to go from 120 cookies per second to 176. That's like a 50% increase. And then we're going to save up for the mine, which costs 12,000. Mines out cookie dough and chocolate chips. And we're making cookies so quickly now that I hardly need to do any clicking. There's 6,500, 66, 67, 6,800. So how many is the mine going to increase us by? We're going from 176 to 223 per second. So every one of those is about 50 cookies per second. So we're going to save up another 16,000 cookies, buy another mine, and then I guess another grandma and probably just more grandmas for now. And then when I run out of those, I'm going to buy more cursors until I can buy another grandma. And we're just going to keep upgrading things because I need something to click on. And another 2 farms, and they're at level 10 now, and that means we're up to 350 cookies per second. The next upgrade is a mystery, and it's going to cost $130,000. So before we get to that, we're maybe going to buy a few more mines, just because we can still make a lot of money out of those. Mine level 5, that means we're at almost 500 cookies per second. My next clicking thing is one we're going to need for 50,000. So we're going to save up 50,000, and then this is going to add plus 1% of my CPS. So that took us from 8 per click to 12.9. So that's a 50% increase. And then obviously the more cookies I'm making per second, the more I'm going to get per click. And I suspect if this is like all of the other idler games I've played, it's worth it to save up for the factory. Instead of upgrading the mines, farms, and grandmas, we just want to get a factory as quick as possible. And there's the 133,000 we need for one factory. This is going to take us from 491 to 751 cookies per second. That almost doubled my output. Plus that brought my clicker up to 15 point something per click. And another level for the factory is going to put us over 1,000 cookies per second for the first time. So every minute we're making 60,000 cookies. And we have a chance for 55,000 to make my farms twice as efficient. This initially isn't going to make a huge difference, but I plan on buying more farms because of that. So let's quickly save up $115,000 all to spend on farms. It's going to take us from level 10 to level 21. And those actually brought us up to about 1,500 cookies per second. And then let's spend $125,000 on grandmas, which actually means we can get a lot of them. 38 grandmas is more than anyone needs. And it's also becoming clearer to me that the more we level up our individual things, the more upgrades it can get, because we've unlocked farmer grandmas. Grandmas are twice as efficient, and farms gain 1% CPS per grandma, so that boosts grandmas and farms. That brings me up to 2,000 cookies per second. And things are already getting expensive. If I upgrade anything other than my cursor, it costs $20,000 or more per level. We're also going to get grandmas are twice as efficient because lubricated dentures. And then I'm going to do something probably stupid, but I'm going to spend $180,000 just on the cursor, and I'm going to auto click my way there just because I don't really know what else to do, which unfortunately didn't really unlock anything new, at least that I can tell. But for every click now I get 31.3 cookies, and we're up to about 2,500 cookies per second, so we're definitely making it at a pretty good rate. I'm going to work on the mines and factories next, and that includes sugar gas because that makes mines twice as efficient. So if I click on that, that's certainly going to help my cookies per second, and then we're going to buy as many mines as we can buy, and that very quickly brings us up to 3,000 per second. Zoned out for a second, we have 320,000 cookies to spend, so let's buy one level of factory, then whatever the glowing finger is. The mouse and cursors gain plus 0.1 cookies for each non-cursor object owned. Okay, well that's going to take us up to 3,700 cookies per second, plus 52 per click. And fairly quickly there's 1.7 million cookies, which means we can buy the bank for 1.4 million. That's going to jump us all the way up to 5,000 per second. And it's starting to get to the point where it doesn't even feel worth it to click anymore, though I think it probably is. 66 per click. Next I'm going to buy another factory for 200,000, and then a mega drill to make mines twice as efficient for 600,000. And then I guess I'm just going to go back to clicking for a little while. And how about a level 2 bank for another 1.6 million? That brings us up to 7,700 per second. And then another factory just because we can. Next I'm going to buy the gears that makes factories twice as efficient. And then we're going to buy a few more of those. That brings us over 10,000 per second. All the way up to 2.7 million cookies now, so we're going to buy plain cookies, which increases cookie production by 1%. And then this one, which boosted by 2%, which made a small difference, but not a huge one. We still need many more cookies. Decided to save up a little bit of money. Now we have 7.2 million. So how many banks do you think that could buy? Three banks. So that puts us up to about 15,000 cookies per second and 165 per click. This definitely took a minute, but there's 20 million cookies. So that means we can actually buy our first temple. And that's going to take us from 15,000 cookies per second to 23,000 cookies per second. So now the numbers are going to go up even faster. I mean, we already have enough for another factory, if not two. And since we are making money pretty quickly, we should start upgrading some of our older things, because every little bit is going to make a difference. And considering we're making 25,000 cookies per second, we could buy one of these upgrades about every 2 seconds, at least for the time being. And those upgrades also unlocked more upgrades for things like the farms and grandmas. And things are kind of evenly distributed right now. The temple makes up 30% of my total CPS, the bank makes up 27%, the factory makes up another 20%. So the bottom three are pretty much carrying the load, so I'm just going to continue to upgrade those three. So let's make farms twice as efficient, and then grandmas are twice as efficient, and mines gain plus 1% CPS per 2 grandmas, so that's actually a really big increase. And how about another bank? That puts us up to 6 and 33,000 cookies per second, plus whatever this is. Cookie production times 7 for 1 minute. Okay, we better take advantage of this. So I'm not sure if there's a timer somewhere on the screen that I'm looking past, but we're making a lot really quick. So while I'm at it, I'm going to try and save up enough for a level 2 temple. Though I should probably be upgrading other things right now, but we'll go for a temple first, and whatever we can get after that, we will. Well, I made a choice there. I'm not sure was the right choice, but a choice is better than no choice. But we definitely got a few extra levels to our bank and factory, and that makes a difference because we're up to 40,000 per second at the base now. Next, I think I want to spend $5 million on Iron Mouse. Clicking gains plus 1% of your CPS. So that's actually going to make a pretty big difference. We're getting almost 1,000 per click now. That's going to add up over time. We'll maybe make our factories twice as efficient too for 6.5 million. That was actually a really big boost. 49,000 cookies per second, and we can even add another factor if we want to bring it up to 50. And after that little upgrade, we're definitely over 1,000 per click. Okay, here's my next fun idea. If I unlock something like this, it says grandmas are twice as efficient, plus factories gain plus 1% CPS per 3 grandmas. So if I have a lot of grandmas, our factory is going to be even better than they already are, and they make up 36% of our income. So let's do something I've always wanted to do and spend $10 million buying grandmas. We have 50 currently. We now have 69 grandmas. That was not intentional, but sometimes things just work out this way. Now we gotta save up for that upgrade one more time, but once we do, we'll put 69 grandmas to work. And there's the money we need for our super grandmas. So once we buy this, we're gonna go from 51,000 to 58,000 per second. Next, we're probably gonna buy something called kitten helpers. You gain more CPS the more milk you have. I don't know how much milk we have now or where we get it really, but that's got to be a good upgrade for $9 million. Like, is this the milk down here? If it is, I feel like we have a lot of it, but we're going to make a choice and see what happens. I haven't made a lot of bad choices in a while, so we're overdue for one. I just clicked on another booster, so we're currently getting 406,000 cookies per second. So before continuing this, let's buy the kitty upgrade, and that put us up to 451,000, so that made a big difference. Next, we're just going to save up for the next temple. Even my clicking right now is about 10,000 cookies per click. And we got enough for the next temple, so let's go ahead and buy one of those. That's going to put us up to 514,000. And it would be really great if we could get another level of temple out of this, and it looks like we're going to manage. We got about 15 seconds left. And there it is, one more level of the temple. And once this bonus wears out, we'll kind of see where we're really at for coins per second. Cookies per second. Okay, the little bonuses ended. We're sitting at 83,000 cookies per second. Then we can buy an upgrade called Taller Tellers for 14 million. Banks are twice as efficient. Banks are one of my big money earners right now, so if we click on this, we're up to 96,000 cookies per second, almost 100,000. Now it feels like we're starting to make some money, 100,000 per second, which means we can also buy pretty much other upgrades as they pop up. Grammars are twice as efficient. Then we'll get sugar cookies next, cookie production multiplier plus 1%. That brings us up to 102,000 per second. Would you look at that? I stepped out for just a second and that put us up to 67 million cookies. So logically then we're going to buy 2 more temples, which is going to bring us all the way up to 120,000 cookies per second. And then I want to see what this is. Million fingers multiplies the gain from 1,000 fingers by 5. I assume that's something I'm already using. So that was 10 million questionably spent. And since we're making money and I still want to boost, let's spend $12 million on factories, which means I could buy, I believe, 5 of them. But that brings me up to 132,000 per second. And then next, let's do something stupid. Let's spend almost $20 million on Corsair upgrades. This might actually be worth it, but I kind of doubt it. Now I'm kind of debating if it's worth going back and upgrading things like the mine, because the upgrades right now are only 225,000. So if we spend like 15 million, we'll get 15 levels out of them. And that did bring our cookies per second up a little bit, but not a huge amount. But that's probably worth doing considering how quickly we'll make back that 15 million. So we're going to do that same thing now with the farm. That was a lot of levels of farm. And that should actually make a pretty good difference. So we're going from 145,000 cookies per second to 156. I see one of these again, so that's going to give me a boost up to 1.5 million cookies per second. But then also I'm going to buy this upgrade for 70 million. Banks are twice as efficient. And this bonus is a short one, so we're going to buy some levels of the temple and keep clicking. I didn't realize this bonus was that short. I would have been taking that a little more seriously. But in the end, we're left with 35 million cookies at almost 200,000 per second. And just because we can, we're going to buy one more level of the temple, which puts me well over 200,000 per second. The next unlock is going to be the wizard tower for I think 330 million. After that, we start getting into the billions. So things are going to get expensive fast. And I'm very excited about that because that means we're going to make a lot more money. As it is, we're making over $1 million every second. I took just a few minutes to save up 340 million cookies. So that means we can be our own wizard in our own wizard tower. That's going to take us from 204,000 cookies per second to 256,000. So that one upgrade was a 25% increase. So we're making $1 million every 4 seconds. And that means we can buy oatmeal raisin cookies, cookie production multiplier plus 1%. The wizard tower currently is making 20% of my total CPS. The banks are actually making more right now, so I can afford to upgrade these a few more times. That's obviously going to be worth it. Banks can make a big difference. Each one of these is adding like 6,000 cookies per second, which is pretty insane considering they're still fairly cheap. Especially when I'm getting over 5,000 per click. We should be able to buy a bank every couple seconds. Though they do get pretty expensive pretty fast. The next one's going to be about $10 million, but that's going to push me up to almost 300,000 cookies per second. And amusing as this has been, we need more grandmas because the more of these we have, the more they affect other things. So we're going from 69 of those to 77. That definitely puts us over 300,000 cookies per second. And then we're going to spend $25 million on factories. That puts us up to 310,000. And then another 25 million on, let's do the mines next. That gave me another little boost, 315,000 per second. Here's another booster that puts us up to $2.2 million per second. And this one looks like a full 60 seconds, so we're going to get our money's worth out of this. And because we baked 1 billion cookies in total, we are now attracting sugar lumps. Okay, so they gather at the top of the screen under the stats button. You would be able to harvest them when they're all ripe. Okay, so we just slowly add up new things also, so that's just fine by me. I decided to just power straight through this bonus without clicking on anything else. That's going to leave us with about 320 million cookies to spend. Now we just need to figure out what upgrades we want, because we've got a pretty good choice of things. We could upgrade the Garamas again, and those actually increase my banks by quite a bit as well. Before doing that, we're going to make temples twice as efficient, because temples currently are making up 20% of my CPS. So if we make them twice as big, that's going to take us all the way from 317,000 to 381,000. And then we're going to upgrade the Grammas from there. So that's going to take us from 381,000 to 412. And then we'll do factories twice as efficient also. They're 455,000 cookies per second. And I'm just going to round out the rest of my spending by buying whatever I can and then get back to clicking. Do you think we get any cool upgrades once we hit level 100 with some of our things? I've been wondering that for a while. If I want to buy 10 levels of Corsair, it's going to be something like $70 million. That's probably worth it. Corsair up to level 100. And we got an achievement, but that might be all we got. I guess along with the satisfaction of getting Corsairs to level 100. So that's exciting. Let's give ourselves 2 more levels of temples since they're doing so much for me these days. Well, let's call it 1 for now because they get expensive fast. But this next one, plus a bank, puts me over $515,000 a second. That bank actually made a bigger difference than I thought it would. Plus, I better click on this again, which only gave me 2 million cookies. I was hoping for a multiplier. But at least now we're making over $1 million. We're making $1 million in less than 2 seconds. I've also kind of just realized that the Grammas by themselves equal 4.5% of my total earnings per second, but their bonuses equal another 10% of my total bonuses per second, so I should probably be upgrading Grammas more. So let's spend $105 million on Grammas, which gave me another 10 levels, but that probably made a pretty big difference overall. 525,000 cookies per second. Lucky for us, we're making money fast enough that it doesn't take that long to save up another $100 million, which I'm pretty much just going to spend on banks. So we can go from 17 to 22, so we got an extra 5 banks out of that deal, which brings us up to $566,000 a second. And there's an easy another $100 million. We're going to spend this one, I think, on factories. So we're going to go from level 29 to 37. So we're up to almost 600,000 cookies per second. And then how about this upgrade? Cookie production multiplier plus 2%. That's going to add about 12,000 coins per second. Cookies per second. I know which game I'm playing. And I've got another frenzy that I really need to take advantage of. I'm currently making 4.2 million cookies per second, and I need to get as many as I can. This is a pretty long bonus too, so I'm going to swoop over and buy some temples every once in a while, just because it's going to pay for itself very quickly. Though the individual upgrades are now costing almost 100 million, so I'm going to buy 1 more of those really quick and then get back, and then hopefully we have enough for 1 more Wizard's Tower before the bonus ends. Although I should also be checking to see what other kind of fun upgrades we could buy for this kind of money. But for right now, I just want to focus on making this money. So we're going to be about 400 million by the time the bonus runs out. Little over even. So as far as upgrades are concerned, there's nothing really that exciting that sticks out to me. So I'm gonna buy another Wizard's Tower. Combine that with another couple banks and we're at 730,000 cookies per second, closing in on 1 million per second. And that makes me think that next time we'll get into the billions per second.